Hello and welcome to From the Wings. I'm Stephanie Freed, and I'm so glad you're able to join us today for a conversation with Bushnell President and CEO David Fay. As you may know, last week the Bushnell announced our plans for moving forward with a healthy and safe reopening of our theaters. We can't wait to welcome you back with our first public performance, the Middlesex Hospital Vocal Cords, with their tribute to the 20th anniversary of September 11th, on September 11th. Tickets are still available, and we hope you'll join us. In today's episode, I'll talk with David about our reopening, what to expect when you return to the Bushnell, and the specifics around new policies we've put in place. We've also been collecting your questions on Facebook and on email, and we'll get to answering some of those as well. However, before we begin, I would like to recognize Webster Bank, our official presenter of the From the Wings series. We're so grateful to Webster Bank for its loyal and generous support today and always. Thank you, Webster Bank. So let's get to it. Here with me today, David Fay, President and CEO of the Bushnell. Welcome, David.
Great to be here.
It's great to see you. Great to see you there at the Bushnell in your office.
It's lovely to be in the office. In the last few weeks, I've been making increasing numbers of trips here for meetings and different things, and it's great to be back.
Fantastic, fantastic. So let's get to it. We are just weeks away from our anticipated reopening. How does that feel? What are you thinking as we're getting ready to welcome patrons back to the Bushnell?
Well, yeah, after 18 months or so here of being closed, it is a wonderful feeling to get the theaters reopened, to get people coming back downtown, and to enjoy, the live performing arts. So, yeah, it's great. We have a long road ahead of us throughout this coming season, and as we put everything back together. But we're in very good shape and ready to move forward.
We have so many shows lined up. As I look at the season, it's just remarkable what we have coming, whether it's our Broadway series or our host of one-nighters that our programming team has scheduled, or the rentals that are going to be in our building. It's exciting to see the breadth of programming. Are you seeing that kind of programming at other performing arts centers around the country?
Yes. It's an interesting phenomenon as a result of having so many months dark, moving schedules and everything else. We're winding up, in essence, with everything that has been canceled, trying to cram back on the calendar, along with the new things that were scheduled more or less or thought to be going out around this time. And so we have a cavalcade of wonderful programming that's going to be coming through here very shortly. So, it's a good time.
It's funny. I think I've said this 100 times on these broadcasts, but I just can't wait for that first performance, for that moment when the lights go down and the curtain goes up, and just the way that's going to feel. I'm super excited. So last week we made an announcement related to a healthy and safe return to the Bushnell. We announced some new policies. These policies are in effect through October 31st. And just to refresh all of our memories, they include proof of vaccination being required, or if a person is unable to be vaccinated, proof of a negative COVID test within 72 hours of a specific performance time, if it's a PCR test, or 6 hours if it's a rapid test. And the requirement for everyone, regardless of vaccination status, is to wear a mask when inside the building. Can you tell me a little bit about how the Bushnell came to these new policies?
Well, it's literally just following the science and looking at the situation that's unfolding here with the Delta variant and everything. But at the end of the day, we've been surveying our patrons throughout the last number of months, and an overwhelming majority, have been vaccinated and are, or seeking vaccination right now, and they want to know that when they're coming to the theater, that not only are they safe, but their presence in a space like that, as big and as wide as it is going to not create any health hazards for anybody else. And so, they want to make sure, as do we, that everyone who walks through those doors is either fully vaccinated or is walking through the doors without any, COVID problems entering the theater, so that we will really have. And this is true for the shows that are coming in. It's true for all the personnel, everything else that we're dealing with.
Is this policy, in your understanding, unique to the Bushnell, or are
No,
we seeing it?
Not at all. I mean, if you read the daily paper and you look at what's going on across the country, it's very clear that COVID-19 has now become a disease of the unvaccinated. So, I'm not telling you anything, or our listeners, our viewers, anything that they don't already know, which is go get vaccinated and you will be, safe. You will be protected as well as you possibly can be against the COVID-19 virus and all of its variants. So that's really why we're making this decision now. Theaters across the country, obviously Broadway hasn't made this announcement, the same thing. All the DC theaters last week were making this announcement along with us. The Kennedy Center made their announcement on the same day we did. And we're seeing it really spread out across the country now. It's the easiest, simplest way. It's not an inconvenience to expect people to mask, and it isn't. I will admit, it is an inconvenience if you don't want to get vaccinated or can't be vaccinated but still want to see a show. Yes, it's an inconvenience, but not a terrible inconvenience to go get a PCR test and demonstrate that you can walk through the doors without the COVID virus. So, it's a pretty straightforward thing being adopted by, I'd say, most venues across the country now, or certainly in the next couple of weeks.
Sure. So that's in front of the curtain. How about behind the curtain? Are we applying this policy not just to our patrons, but also to staff, crew, performers, our volunteers? How is that working?
Yeah, we've actually, as you know, we've had the policy in place for our staff for a number of weeks now. So here at the office, when I'm not in my office, I put my mask on if I'm walking around in the public areas at all. And as we do meetings and different kinds of things, if there's 3 of us in a meeting, we've all been vaccinated, we make the choice, but we just are very careful with that. The industry itself, unions, actors, everybody has said they want to make sure that everybody who is traveling with the shows is completely vaccinated, and anybody who is coming into the theater is from a stagehand point of view to a front of house staff to everybody. And by doing that, we can assure our patrons that they are in a very healthy, safe environment. Doing anything else, we really can't guarantee that. This, we can.
And I know for some of the folks you're talking about, so many of our performers, specifically on our Broadway tours, those who are members of the Actors Union, Actors Equity, as well as our stagehands who are part of the IATSE union that represents stagehands. We have a local here in Hartford. I know that, as you mentioned, they're putting policies in place. And right now, even as we're approaching the start of the season, I know I'm having conversations with the folks who represent those shows about our ability to do things that were so normal for us in the past. For instance, taking an actor to a TV studio or hosting a cast party, which our development colleagues do a tremendous job with. And even that, people are being cautious and careful, right, about what situations are people being placed in? Are we assured of vaccination or negative testing status, mask wearing, et cetera? So it is interesting to me to see how it's rolling out around the country. I think, was it yesterday or perhaps the day before, Live Nation made an announcement?
Yeah, they made, and as I'm saying, and you're saying, every day we hear new announcements about the vaccination policies, not only in the live entertainment industry, but in other industries, businesses, even governments are making these mandates that you have to get vaccinated. Or if you absolutely can't, and there's a really valid reason for that, then some provisions are being made, but they're going to be inconvenient because the only way to do it is to have regular testing continue. And that's understandable if there's a real situation like that, and we will honor that. But it really is time for everybody to get vaccinated.
You know, I saw a saying, and it might have been Live Nation, it could have been somebody else, but it said, it was something along the lines of vaccination, your ticket to the return of live music or live performance or something. And that's so true, right? Having a vaccinated public enables us to come back. Without the vaccine, we didn't know when we'd be able to reopen.
It would have been much, much more challenging. There are parts of the world where they did continue to hold performances. South Korea was one of the prime examples of that. But quite honestly, that's a nation that's been dealing with SARS for many, many years and other, contagious type infections. And so they have, and they're a different culture. They're not a culture that goes, I'll do what I want to do. They're a culture that goes, hey, we as a community really have to work together. Otherwise, we'll die out. So no, we'll work together, we'll collaborate, we'll be partners in all of this. And they a national health program that can track everybody's vaccination status and those kinds of things, or reasons that they couldn't get vaccinated. Those are all clear.
Sure.
So, unlike here in America, which I'm very proud to be an American, very grateful for my individual freedoms. But to be honest, and I know, I'm a theater guy, so what am I talking about individual freedoms and all that? Well, I'm an American too. And there are times, we really have to band together to support each other. And that support isn't about my individual freedoms. It is about supporting a country that protects individual freedoms. And sometimes that's done through consensus, and it's done through collaboration, and it's done through partnership. So,
you make me think about those systems that they have in place in places like South Korea or Taiwan or other countries around the globe, enabling folks to, through their smartphone, share that status, their vaccination status or negative test status, et cetera. That then, of course, makes me think about when our patrons return to the Bushnell and we need to ask them to demonstrate to us either that they are vaccinated or that they have a negative COVID test. Can you tell me a little bit about what a patron can show or that we're looking for them to substantiate that?
Yeah, we'll be asking for the actual card, the actual vaccination card, official government issued card, along with a government issued identification, which is pretty simple to do. Show the two, we match it up, and you're in. There are also ways to present that official card on a smartphone, a couple of different ways, which are available on our website. So, rather than me trying to explain it, just come to the website and check it out. But even by the time we get to mid-September, there'll be new innovations in the technology that will allow an ease of access. And we're staffing up appropriately to be able to make it a smooth transition as people come through. We still do bag checks and things like that, but you'll walk through and the checks will be made, and then you'll be in. And it's for everybody's protection, everybody's safety, and everybody's health. So we'll do that, get everybody in, get them seated, and have a great time.
I know, you talk about plans being put in place. You, back in January of 2020, established and asked a member of our team to head up a readiness and response group who's been working on these issues for the last, what is it now? That would be like 20 months, again, back to January, before it was identified as a pandemic in the United States and then global pandemic. Can you tell me a little bit about our readiness and response team and their approach to this work?
Well, you're right. Before the pandemic really became an issue in this country, in part because of the relationship that we have with a number of friends in the business in China, as I was hearing about this, I made phone calls and talked to some of our good friends over there with Poly Theater Group and others, and they were closing theaters down. And I thought, wow, that's amazing. I just can't believe it. But I guess we probably should. But so we put the team together. Kat Needman, Charlie, some of the others on our team, really came together. And the first thing was, as we got closer and realized this was really evolving into something that could shut us down temporarily, the whole work from home issue became really important. And so our tech folks did a great job of a couple of weeks before we actually got shut down, testing systems and making sure that we could Zoom and other things. And it's just been one step after the other. We also are engaged with several national organizations, industry organizations, the Broadway League, with the Performing Arts Center Consortium, with the Independent Presenters Network. And so every week, one of us was on one of the Zoom meetings that was taking place, gathering additional information. Each one of those industry associations established their own task force to represent us all, to put best practices together and disseminate that to everyone. And so we used that. We informed that process as one of the participants, and it's worked out to a point where we are very confident that what we're doing here is the best. We had hoped that the disease would be gone, but it's not. So it's going to be with us for a while, and we'll continue to address it.
Learning to live with the situation that we have versus the one that we want.
Being flexible, being able to bob and weave and go in the directions that we need to go. But we do know we will get open here in September, and we will move through what we anticipate to be a wonderful season and get people out and having some fun.
Absolutely. So a couple of questions, David, that came in through Facebook or email. One of them is asking whether this policy applies to both Mortensen Hall and the Belding Theater. Is it both spaces or whole building?
Yeah, it applies to our entire campus and everybody who would walk onto our campus. So yes, both theaters, the other spaces in the venues it's all covered. So yeah.
Yeah, front of house, back of house,
right.
All the building. If you're inside, it applies. So this has been a really useful conversation. I think that folks continue to have a lot of questions. Often they are questions about, I have these tickets and I have this question related to those tickets. Who do I contact? I would share here that we have a fantastic box office. So if you have questions about your tickets, you can reach out to our box office at the phone number you see there in the bottom third. And people also have, and you mentioned our website a moment ago, David, questions specifically about the policy. And if you want to know more or you would like the specifics about our policy related to a healthy and safe return to the Bushnell, you can visit us at this website you see below, bushnell.org/COVID-19. And then again, the ticket specific questions, the box office is your best place. David, before I let you go, can you give me a sense of what it means for us, what it means for the Bushnell to finally be at the point of reopening? And what do you hope, when I'm talking to you on this show next summer at this time, what do you hope we will have accomplished or experienced over this last year?
Well, I would say this. Obviously, we're grateful to have our staff back now. We're grateful to be gearing up and ready to open. We're grateful to be back into the swing of things, as it were. But I think that opening our venue, the Hartford Stage, Theater Works, seeing the symphony play again, seeing the Connecticut Forum have those great evenings, etc., whether it's in our venue or in other venues in our community, it really represents our community coming back to its cultural life and coming to life, and its economic impact on restaurants, its economic impact on a lot of other related businesses. It's very, very important to the life's blood of Hartford and the Hartford region that we and all of our other fellow, venue operators, get open. I'm looking at the calendars as they unfold for, a number of our friends. And it's exciting. It's important that this gets done so that we all get back on track, and that our community can have that wonderful, rich cultural life, and the celebrating of being together again. So it's going to take the year to get everyone comfortable. It's going to take a month or two of us being open and not seeing a 15th wave of COVID. But we're prepared to do our part to really encourage people to come on down. You will be safe and have a great time, and build from there. Enjoy the restaurants. Go have dinner. Have a drink afterwards. Drive safely though, and get back home so you can come back again.
Absolutely. I like I said before, I can't wait to have folks back in our theater. David, we saw our producer Alex put a couple of feedback comments below just a moment ago. Folks, appreciating the position that Bushnell has taken. I know a constant question I am hearing is related to folks who once the curtain goes up, the lights go down, that masks find their way down as well. And I just wanted to offer here in this conversation, in this forum, that the Bushnell is committed to messaging while folks are in our building, while you're here for a performance, a reminder that our masks need to stay in place. And I know that's important to all of us, again, keeping that healthy, safe space in the theater. And I wondered, again, just before we go, if you have any thoughts about how places around the country have worked with patrons coming in to make sure that things like mask wearing those guidelines are followed.
Well, I think we'll see how that unfolds, because many of the places around the country aren't open like us yet. So we'll see how enforcement is handled. But I honestly, from the surveys and the conversations, the anecdotal and the hard data from our patrons, are that they welcome the criteria and the protocols that we've established. They welcome that there's no real resistance to that at all. The people who are resisting on the internet and stuff are generally folks who don't come. They're not theater goers. So we know that, we understand that. Our concern is that the theater goers who want to be here feel confident and feel safe. I don't anticipate a big problem with people coming in and trying to take their masks off. I mean, certainly everybody moves their mask at one point or another for a few seconds, a few minutes, whatever it is. I doubt that we're going to be, stationing people with spit guns, in the, spitballs and,
I think we'll avoid that. Yeah.
To go after. I don't think we'll be doing that. So I think we're just going to look to the good behavior of folks who want to be together and want to be safe, and that's it. And if you don't feel safe and you don't want to take it, don't come. I mean, it's that simple. And I don't mean that in a pejorative or a negative sense. I mean, be safe. If you can't feel the cooperation that is in that room, I recommend you wait for a while, come later. Now, I'm saying that as the president and CEO, we want to have everybody possible come through the doors, but we want it safely, and we want it to be done collaboratively.
And, and that is, I think, that word collaboration. I've been reflecting a lot on this last year as I'm preparing our annual message and talking with folks such as yourself. Collaboration is so key, whether it is our collaboration among our community members, and I mean broadly, not specifically to the Bushnell, or collaboration within the arts world, or collaboration within our state. I think about the work you're doing with the 5 other largest presenting theaters in the state, and again, it's a spirit of collaboration. And so we do hope that our patrons collaborate and cooperate. And just as an aside, you mentioned that survey, and the survey that you're talking about is the one we've been participating in for the last year, and it goes about every 3 weeks now, and Right now, it's going to about 4,300 Bushnell patrons. And of those responding to that survey, and I offer this just as a point of fact, those responding to that survey, 95% of respondents are partially or fully vaccinated. 91% are fully vaccinated. So I think in that return to the Bushnell, that return to that space, there is an acknowledgement of the importance of vaccine to our collective ability to do things like enjoy live performance together. And I do anticipate a spirit of cooperation.
I do too. And, like any regulation or rule that we put in place, we do it for the safety of our patrons. We do it for the enjoyment of our patrons, So we'll be looking forward to getting the theater open and getting people back in there. And we'll address any issues that come up in a respectful and professional manner, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And our staff is on hand, prepared and trained to do just that.
Yeah, exactly.
So, David, thank you. It's always great to hear directly from you. And I really appreciate you taking the time to answer these questions. And I can't wait to be back in the building where you are and to be able to just come down the hall and have a conversation.
That's what I'm looking forward to it very soon. And thank you, Stephanie, for all the great work that you continue to do as we have plowed our way through this very difficult period and are now about to see the sunrise.
We are so close.
Yes.
All right. Thanks so much.
All right.
Bye-bye. Okay. So as we wrap up today's conversation, I just want to offer a reminder that we are approaching this exciting reopening of our theaters. And as we do, as always, we depend on private support. We're especially grateful for the continued commitment of Webster Bank and our other intermission partners. On your screen now are many of our current corporate and foundation supporters, and it's thanks to their generosity, as well as the support of our individual donors, that we're able to continue our work to bring the very best in arts education and the performing arts, both virtually and live on our stages and in classrooms throughout Connecticut. And of course, as you know, your support through giving, subscription, ticket purchases, it helps sustain us, and it ensures that we are here and ready to welcome you back now that the time is right. I hope you'll consider renewing your gift or making your very first gift today by visiting us at bushnell.org/donate now. And as a reminder, as always, if you haven't already, sign up for our e-club. You'll get weekly emails giving you hints and tips to what's happening in the arts community, both locally, around the country, and often around the world. To sign up, visit us at bushnell.org/e-club and follow us on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all the usual locations. And that is it for today. I want to thank you again for joining us for this episode of From the Wings. I want to say again how much I am so looking forward to being back at our Bushnell with you, enjoying the very best in the live performing arts. Until our next episode of From the Wings, take good care.